My name is Devon Edwards. I'm with Trevanna Tracks. I'm the Director of Client Success. Work with clients at all different stages here. So today I will walk you through the platform. And just to give a little bit of background on Trevanna Tracks and who we are, we're the first cloud-based software for the management of music licensing in film, television, and gaming. So our goal is to give you instant visibility into progress statuses, license counts, or missing documents, all the most important things that you need to keep track of. You're dealing with a lot of balls up in the air, a lot of moving parts. We just want to give you a centralized place where everything is there, everything is up to date, the latest version of the quote approvals in there, just to make life a little bit easier so that you can focus more on the more important aspects of your job and less on the administrative tasks that come along with it. So today we're going to look at, we're going to have some fun with a not so fun scenario is how I'll put it best. And that is, it's Thursday at 5 p.m. and you just received a last minute request from your client to clear 2 songs. One's a multiple use, and we don't necessarily have all the research ready yet. So we need to get out those quote requests by the end of the day. And when I'm talking to clients and I'm working with them for the first time, they tell me that this process takes hours. I don't need to say that to everybody here, right? And in Trevanna, now it takes minutes. So let's go ahead and walk through that together. Great. So this is our landing page when you first log in. This is your project management screen. We're going to be looking at this through the eyes of a super admin, which is our top level user permission. You can see everything, all the projects. I can delete projects. I can do anything. We have a lot of different user permissions depending on how large your team is and what your needs are. So we're quite flexible. We won't get into that today. We're going to be spending our time in the standalone area. That's going to be where we clear all of our feature films and our documentaries, any standalone production. And just want to give a little peek here as well. We support episodic projects and we also support marketing projects as well. And all these areas, while these projects are split up, they all speak to one another and they all funnel up to the same database where all of your song and rights holder metadata is stored, and of course, all of your documents as well. So let's go ahead into Jacaranda Lane. And here we are in the clearance phase. So we have 3 different phases in here. We have the clearance phase, the licensing phase, and then kind of a summary overview of progress in the licensing. So we're just going to stick with clearance here today. And we're going to add our first of 2 songs. So here, just a little bit of orientation before we do that. Think of this project as a spreadsheet that you're currently tracking all this information in, right? Here, each of these rows are going to be a song that you're considering. We can consider multiple songs for each scene and clear them in parallel with one another. So we have the ability to indicate whether something is a keep, your top choice, everything works out, you get the fee that you want. This is what we're going to lock in for production. But we know that sometimes creative decisions happen and you need to go into a different direction. Sometimes the licensor is not going to give you the quote that you requested or agree to the quote that you requested. It might be a little bit out of budget. So we just want you to have a really easy way to see everything that you're considering all in one place and be able to clear that information or clear those songs in parallel with one another. And when we click on one of these songs, if we resort this, if we go down to Skateboarding USA, we can see the rights holder information waterfalling down below. And so here we have 3 publishers and 1 recording licensor. We have all of their splits, the fee due based on the all-in fees here. And here is our quote and confirmation upload area. So this is where we can actually generate a quote request for you in the exact format that you are currently using right now. And so that's one of the first steps that we take when working with a new client. Let's see your quote requests, as many as you currently use. They might be specific to a client, they might not be. We can accommodate them all. And same thing with your license requests or your confirmation letters. Really, we just want you to be able to enter this information, click a button and create that quote request and send it out really quickly. And below here, we can also see all of the writers and the split. So really all the information that you're currently tracking just in this nice centralized format. So I promised we'd add our first song. Let's go ahead and do that. If we click add track, we only have 3 required fields here. We have the track name, the artist name, and the scene number. As we kind of look around here, it's very familiar, right? These are all the things that you're going to be tracking in your current process when you're going through clearance. And when I click into the track name, I want to start to type in slow burn, and there it is. So this is a database. And if you've done the research or someone on your team has done the research and entered this information in for a previous project, whether it was used or not, it's all retained for you. And the benefit is this. It autofills all of the rights holder information, all their ownership splits, all of their writers and publishing entities, the PRO information. We're just talking a lot about Q sheets. All of the type of information that you would need to plug into a Q sheet will autofill in here if you've entered it in before. So that was an easy one, right? We would just need to add the scene number, the scene description, the usage, all that good stuff. But really what I want to do is focus on entering a new one, because it's not always going to be that easy if we haven't cleared it before. So here it is showing up on our top sheet view. So let's add a brand new one. And the one that we're going to add is Back on 74 by one of my favorite artists, Jungle. So what we'll do is really quickly just populate this information. And the reason I am doing this right now and showing this to you is because what we're ultimately going to get to once we click save on this is the quote request phase and how we can pull all of this information in dynamically in the exact format that you choose. So we're going to do a background vocal. This is going to be for 35 seconds. Let's say it's all in on publishing 10,000 and on recording 10,000. And now we're going to add our rights holders. So I'll add Sony and Cobalt. Ooh, have to put one of these guys in there. Sony and Cobalt. So when we're actually creating this, one of the things that's great to interact with is this area, because not only are we storing all of your project, song, and rights holder metadata, we're also storing your entire contact book. So as I start to type in Cobalt, Cobalt shows up for me. And a beautiful thing about that is that all my contacts are going to be here at the ready. So we don't have to worry about combing through our contacts in our iPhone or through our email. We put it in here one time, it lives here forever. And we can, of course, add as many as we'd like. And if someone moves to another organization, we can make those adjustments as well. And so we're going to give Cobalt 50% here, and we're going to add 2 quick writers. We're going to add Lydia. There we go. And we are going to add Thomas. I know he's down here. There he is. Perfect. So we'll give them an even split here. And then all of our media rights are already in here because when we created the project, we put the media rights in that we're going to be clearing for across the project. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. We just entered it in that one time. And then we click save. So we get that rights holder in. And then we need to add our Sony rights holder as well in our last writer. And so as we're going through this, like I said, we're just kind of building this out so that the system takes care of us later. And something I've skipped over so far is this auto calculation of the fees. So I put in 10,000 all in on the publishing, and now the system's going to do the math for me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not the best at math, and that's probably one of my favorite features in Trevanna. And so when we click save there, I won't add the writer there in the interest of time. I'll add one more rights holder just to build this out so we're ready to go. Add an AWOL, put in our contact there, and we'll put them at 100%. Perfect. So now we've built a song all the way from the ground up in under 90 seconds, really. So when I click save and exit, it's going to take us back to the project screen. And we're going to see all that information, and we're going to be able to interact with it. And when I say interact with it here, we have the 2 writers, all of that information. If we wanted to plug in the publishing entities, we could have done that. We have our contact information here, and we love notes fields here. We feel like you need a sandbox to enter in all the nuances of every clearance. So if you did have any specific notes for Cobalt, whether it be related to negotiation or whatever it might be, all of that would be showing up on your screen and easy to interact with. But let's go ahead and send out a pull request because I've been really jazzing it up. So let's go ahead and see it in action. So for Cobalt, all I have to do is click generate request. My contact is there. We have an option to have a default email CC. So my colleague Selena is the default CC for every single quote request that goes out. So I don't have to type her email in every single time. And I can choose from our templates what we'd like to use here. We can click on this, and then it pulls it in this format. Now, a really great thing about this is that we are going to put this in the exact format that you desire. But we understand that you have personal relationships with the contacts at the licensors, and we, of course, want you to have the option to modify this in any way that you'd like. So this is fully editable. We have a rich text editor here. And if you need to say like, hey, Hunter, hope your dog is doing well. Hope you had a great vacation, whatever it might be, you'd be able to do that. So you can kind of think of this as composing a new email, right? You choose who you want to send it to. The subject line is automatically generated for you in your preferred format. And all the quote request information that you'd normally communicate is just in the body of the email. So when you send this out, a few things happen. You get an icon indicating that the quote request went out. You get an automatic status change there as well. We can filter for these as well. I'll show you a little bit later if we have time, how you can look across an entire project or all of your projects, whether, what licenses are in the request phase and you're still pending the approval. We all know that you have to chase quite a bit. So we wanted to give you some fun tools to deal with that. But also what happens most importantly is that gets sent directly to your contact. You get automatically copied on that email thread, and all of the back and forth, the negotiation, the approvals, any adjustments, all of that happens in your email inbox as it currently does. So what we're doing is taking the information that you researched and entered, putting it into your format, sending it out to them, and then you take it from there. When you ultimately receive the approval, all you have to do is, oops, did not mean to do that. All you have to do is pull in your quote approval. It could be an email format like this one, or it could be a straight up PDF or a Word doc. And if you click and drag that over, it's going to recognize that. You can put when that quote is going to expire, any notes, change the labels, click save, and now we are in the approved phase. So as we start to build out this, as we start to get these approvals and send these quote requests out, we are building the paper trail. And so as you're uploading these documents, they're all available to you at any given time. If there's a change in the media rights and you need to go out for another approval, we can always come in and adjust this and say this is a quote additional document, upload the new approval on top of it. You still have the full negotiation history available to you. And the beautiful thing is that we're able to export these documents out in a pre-labeled, pre-formatted format. So it takes out all of the putting it into Dropbox, creating a specific file, structure and all that stuff. So what you ultimately want to get to is where we are up here. Under the Sun is in the request phase. We've sent requests out to Lost and Sound in Bombay. They haven't got it back to us on the approvals. Chillin' in the Sunshine, we are fully approved. And Flower Child, we are fully confirmed. So we also have this option to generate the confirmation letters as well. And so if I wanted to do that, all I have to do is go in here, click license request or whatever, template you have, and it's going to pull in all that information. And it works the exact same way. You send that out, it keeps a copy of it, it updates the status so you know exactly where it is at all times, and the licensor receives it. So that was two songs, right? And I mentioned that back on 74 is a multiple use. So how do we handle that? Well, easy, because we've already done it. So it should be easy. So all we have to do is copy that track to the current project, and it's going to pull in all of that same information. So we're not retyping anything. The 10,000 aside incorporated both uses. So we're going to put no fee required. We're going to indicate that there's no licenses required on this one because we're already clearing on the first record. And then we can label this as an additional use. And of course, we need to change the scene number. And then we click save and exit. So I just want to stop for a second and talk a little bit about how quickly that went, right? I mean, this is exactly what our clients are telling us, where it used to take hours. These requests come in at all different times of the day. You need to be able to get this stuff done really quickly and take the guesswork out. So I hope that example that I just showed you kind of showcased a day in the life of what it would look like to enter information, and then clear a song ultimately in Trevanna. But that's not where it stops, right? There's a whole lot more to it. So as you're going through this process, you're going to need to report out externally to the client. And there's different reporting needs. One of those reporting needs are giving kind of an overview of how we're performing against the budget based on the quotes that we've been receiving back. And so we have a dedicated project-specific report called the track list report, which does exactly that. And so here I can generate a PDF from the report in real time. It's pre-formatted for us. We also provide this option in Excel format as well, because we understand there's a need for that. And this is going to give you that high level information of every song that is currently considered as a top choice, the C numbers, all of the information that you typically would need to communicate. And of course, more importantly, the all-in fees that you've been getting and totals of those. Down here, we're looking at songs that have already been locked for production and since moved into the licensing phase. We also have a little bit more of a granular report there as well. So here, the first report I showed you was very track specific, right? This is going to be licensor specific. So we're going to see a lot of duplicate names here, but that's because we need to reflect the progress for all the rights holders. So the first report was based on like budgeting and where you're at and just a high level overview. And this really gets into the nitty gritty of if you did need to share this with a client, you could send this to them and they'd immediately know what phase every single one of these licenses are in. So if you have a check mark under requested, it means the request went out. The quote means the approval has been uploaded, and the confirmation means the confirmation has been sent out. And so we just want to give you this at the click of a button because we know how important it is to your day-to-day. Going back here, we also have other reports like a CSV export. We also have a document export here as well, which is going to give you all those documents that you've uploaded in a pre-labeled and nicely formatted format. And in the summary page, we have a lot of tools here that really aid final delivery and cue sheets as well. So we heard from our friend Alex at SoundMouse just a few minutes ago, and at Trevanna, we're very proud to be integrated with SoundMouse. And so the idea here is everything gets moved into licensing. All the information has been entered necessary for the cue sheet. You click this button, you're a SoundMouse client as well as a Trevanna client. In the SoundMouse interface, there is an import from Trevanna Tracks option. You import this file and it populates SoundMouse for you automatically. The only information that's not carried over is the in and the out times, which can be added in SoundMouse. But we also have the ability, of course, and this is one of our OG features, to do what we call one-click delivery. So when we're done with the project, it's reached its conclusion, we are able to click this button and it's going to give us this. It's going to give us a folder of our entire, like a spreadsheet of our entire project, all the song information, all the license information, any of the notes, the fees, the writers, anything that you've entered gets pulled into that report for you. And we also have, and I know this one is probably one of the bigger headaches that you deal with, tracking all the documentation and building out this file structure when you're doing final delivery. And so everyone's become a pro at it. We wanted to just make it go a little bit faster. So in this example, we have the song Ever Since LA by Barry Styles. We click on that. We have a folder for each licensor, depending on the type of licensor that they are. And when we click on that, we have this beautiful file structure where we put each document in these labeled folders for you. So if we want the confirmation, it's in there. The fully executed license, it's in there. All the things that you typically be required. So of course, there's some information in here specific to the licensing side. If you're working on the clearance side, you'd be able to pull an export of just the clearance documents as well. We also have, like in our clearance tab, something I mentioned was the inevitability that you're going to have to chase some licensors, right? So I talked about a filter that we have available. When we click on our filter here, we can filter in a lot of different ways. I think the best thing to show right now would probably be everything that's been requested but not yet approved. When we click apply filter, it's going to pull up every single licensor that meets that criteria. the reports that I showed you, the license list and the track list report up here, we can report specifically on the filtered data here. And so when I open up the track and license list report, we have this active filter button. So in other words, these reports are highly customizable depending on what type of information that you're trying to communicate. We can also do this by licensor. I know this is an important thing that comes up quite often. I'm using a fake licensor here by Spark Music. We can also report specifically on licensor. So if that's something that the client requests, show me everything that's currently open with Universal or Sony or Warner, you'd be able to pull that information out really quickly using a combination of the search, the filter, and the reporting tool. And we know most of the time you're going to be working on one project at a time, but if you are working on multiple projects, we also have something called the overview. And the reason I'm showing the overview right after the filter is because the overview is the same thing as the filter, but you can do it across multiple projects instead of on one project at a time. And so I'm going to go into our saved views here. Think of these as presets, depending on your job function, because in Trevanna, we work with everybody throughout the entire process: creative, clearance, business affairs, legal, accounting. Everybody's going to want to see something a little bit differently, right? And so we have these views that are user specific. For the purpose of today, we will look at everything across all of my projects that have been requested but not approved. So we can get that information at a click of a button. We have all of our project names up here, all of the songs and the rights holders here. We have progress bars. We can even click this button and go directly to the song if we'd like. But here's going to be a quick readout. This is a dynamic view, so it updates in real time. So as I start to get approvals, I'm not going to have to reset this view every single time. It scales with me as we make progress. And the other cool thing is we can look at this licensor specific view as well. We looked at this within a project. We can do this across multiple. So here's every open license that meets that criteria of something being requested but not approved by this specific licensor. So you can imagine as you start to work on more and more projects, you'd be able to really supercharge the visibility into all the work that you're doing. So that's what I wanted to show today. I want to make sure that we have enough time for questions at the end. But if you feel like you would benefit from what we walked through and you're interested in having your own Trevanna account, feel free to reach out to me at devon@trevanna.com. We would love to chat with you.
So I have been answering questions as you've been going, Devon. There's been a lot
Awesome.
of great ones. One that I want to bring up is just how the subscription model works. Someone asked if it's for purchase or subscription. So if you just want to walk through that just really quick.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question and one that's come up with everybody. So we started off as like an enterprise solution, right? Working with some of the largest streamers, production companies in the world. But we wanted to also give an offering to smaller companies as well, and even independent music supervisors. So we definitely are flexible. We love to work with everyone. And so I don't have like a pricing page that I can put up on the screen right now, but I would encourage you to reach out and kind of take those next steps. And something that we'd love to do is do another in-depth demo, tailor it to your specific needs so that we can kind of get in the weeds a little bit about your workflow.
Are there any other questions that anybody has that haven't been answered in the chat yet? Please throw them in.
I think just a good general one would just be pricing and options, independent versus corporate also would just be really helpful for everybody to know.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you, Hunter. So what you see is what you get in Trevanna. We don't have like different tiers. So all of the functionality, regardless of your organization size, whether you're independent, smaller team, or an enterprise, you get every piece of functionality. There's no upselling. There's no opting into things or opting out of it. Every time we add a new feature, that is globally available. And yeah, it's really nice because everybody benefits from the ecosystem once they're in it. And something else that I would invite if we don't have any questions. I mean, Leora, this is a showcase of our client success team right here, being able to knock those questions out as I went. We don't outsource any of our support. Everything goes directly to myself or Leora. So I rest assured that, we'll always be there for you. But also curious in the chat, like I showed a multiple use scenario. Awesome. I'm sure that comes up quite a bit. But are there any scenarios that you would like to walk through at a high level before we conclude here? Be happy to show anything live.
Well, I think it was answered in the chat, but it would just be good for you guys to answer regarding sharing of data and information for everybody uploading information to your platform.
Excellent. Yes. Your account is your account. Nothing leaves your account. We don't pull information from external sources. We don't share contacts. We don't share licensor information. When you log in, it's a blank slate. We populate it with your information. And as you do projects, you are building out that database that is unique to you and proprietary to you. And the other beautiful thing about that is that you will always know that your information is reliable because you or a trusted member of your team are the ones entering that information.